What up, YouTube? This is your boy, Adam of Nola, and this is another video in my series God-Free Bible Study on my channel, Skepticus. We are in Exodus. We won't be in Exodus much longer, but I think we're going to close this sucker out today, get all the way through Exodus. Just to give you a little bit of context, at this point we're starting at Exodus 32, and Moses is on Mount Sinai. In fact, apparently he's been on Mount Sinai for 40 days. That's a good long bit to be just up on a mountain hanging out with God. And right before this, we had all of the laws, an insane number of laws that came down specifically from God about how do you build the tabernacle? How do you make the priestly vestments? How do you make the Ark of the Covenant? How do you make the oil that goes in the lamp for sacrifices? How do you cut up the sacrifices? It was really an insane, overly detailed, and ostentatious display by the Hebrew and ultimately the Christian God, as everyone is in the desert. Still, I mean, they may be alive and being fed by God, but I mean, they're still kind of hanging on the edge here, okay? They don't have their own lands. They don't have their own crops. They don't have their own means to support themselves. But what was God doing? He was spending 6 chapters laying out in excruciating detail how we have to make his special home with the Hebrews. But now Moses is on Mount Sinai, and like I said, he's been up there for a long ass time. And then we come to the story in Exodus 32 of the golden calf. So here we go. When the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people gathered around Aaron and said to him, "Come, make gods for us, who shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." Aaron said to them, "Take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." So all the people took off the gold rings from their ears and brought them to Aaron. Remember, Aaron is Moses' brother. He took these from them, formed them into a mold, and cast an image of a calf. And they said, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow shall be a festival to the Lord." They rose early the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought sacrifices of well-being, and the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to revel. The Lord said to Moses, "Go down at once. Your people, whom you brought up out of the land of Egypt, have acted perversely. They have been quick to turn aside from the way that I commanded them. They have cast for themselves an image of a calf and have worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt.'" The Lord said to Moses, "I have seen this people, how stiff-necked they are. Now let me alone so that my wrath may burn hot against them and I may consume them. And of you I will make a great nation." But Moses implored the Lord his God and said, "O Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say, 'It was with evil intent that he brought them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth'? Turn from your fierce wrath. Change your mind and do not bring disaster on your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants. how you swore to them by your own self, saying to them, I will multiply your descendants like the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have promised I will give to your descendants, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord changed his mind about the disaster that he planned to bring on his people. Then Moses turned and went down from the mountain, carrying the 2 tablets of the covenant in his hands, tablets that were written on both sides, written on the front and on the back. The tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, engraved upon the tablets. When Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, There is a noise of war in the camp. But he said, It is not the sound made by victors or the sound made by losers. It is the sound of singing that I hear. As soon as he came near the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, Moses' anger burned hot, and he threw the tablets from his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf that they had made, burned it with fire, ground it to powder, scattered it on the water, and made the Israelites drink it. Moses said to Aaron, What did this people do to you that you have brought so great a sin upon them? And Aaron said, Do not let the anger of my Lord burn hot. You know the people, that they are wicked. They said to me, Make gods for us who shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. So I said to them, Whoever has gold, take it off. So they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf. When Moses saw that the people were out of control, for Aaron had lost control of them, prompting derision among their enemies, then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, Who is on the Lord's side? Come to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered around him. He said to them, Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, Put your sword on your side, each of you. Go back and forth from gate to gate throughout the camp, and each of you kill your brother, your friend, and your neighbor. The sons of Levi did as Moses commanded, and about 3,000 of the people fell on that day. Moses said, Today you have been ordained for the service of the Lord, each one at the cost of a son or brother, and so have brought a blessing on yourselves this day. On the next day Moses said to the people, You have sinned a great sin. But now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. So Moses returned to the Lord and said, Alas, this people has sinned a great sin. They have made for themselves gods of gold. But now, if you will only forgive their sin, but if not, please blot me out of the book that you have written. But the Lord said to Moses, Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. But now go. Lead the people to the place about which I have spoken to you. See, my angel shall go in front of you. Nevertheless, when the day for punishment comes, I will punish them for their sin. Then the Lord sent a plague on the people because they made the calf, the one that Aaron had made. That is Exodus 32. And once again, we are just rained upon with disgusting, immoral crap from this, our Hebrew and our Christian God. Let's go through this bit by bit here. First of all, this is when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain. They get around Aaron. Delayed? Is that what we're calling it? I mean, they said he was up there for 40 days. And at least to take the text at its literal self, there was no indication here that God said to Moses, you're going to be up on the mountain for 40 days. There's no indication that Moses said to his people, I'm going to be up on the mountain for 40 days. This dude's old as hell. Now, I'm sorry, but when Grandpa goes up on a mountain and I haven't seen him for 40 days, hell, if I haven't seen him for 10 days, I'm starting to write that dude off. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You gave these people no indication of what was going on. And yet, when they had the audacity to actually think, oh crap, we've been left here and Moses ain't coming back, and they start to do their own thing, now you get mad. Come on, man. Think about this. You dipped out for 40 days. And you don't think that anyone was going to like carry on any other plans. Fine. I mean, this is so short-sighted to me that it's just another indication to me that God doesn't have any freaking clue what's going on. He thinks that he can just call up Moses for 40 days without giving anyone any indication of what's happening or when he'll be back. And hey, we'll all be good. Who cares? Right? It's so stupid. It is interesting to me that Aaron really is key to this. Yes, it's the people crying out and they're like, oh, Moses isn't coming back. And let's have our own festival and make our own idols. But Aaron is right there with him. Aaron is Moses's brother. Aaron was Moses's mouthpiece to the Pharaoh during the whole thing with the Egyptians and, let my people go and all this. So Aaron was the one who had the staff or has the staff and performed the miracles or sort of, but, and yet, granted, just like with the people, Moses didn't tell him how long he's going to be gone as far as we know. So Aaron didn't know what to do, but it's interesting that Aaron right away is like, yeah, give me your gold and we'll make this thing, and cast an image of a calf. And they said, these are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. I mean, Aaron really was pretty quick to jump in alongside everyone else to say, let's make idols and worship them or whatever. This whole story to me, it does really solidify the polytheistic nature of these people in this time. Now, I've pointed out time and time and time again, if you watched any of the previous videos, about how the text is very much not monotheistic. I don't care what the apologists want to say. If you read it, just read the plain text. It does not read as a monotheistic text at all. If you want to read monotheism into this, it's because you have to read it. You have to choose to read monotheism into this. Yes, we only hear from one God speaking, but he actively refers to other gods, and he doesn't refer to them as fake gods or false gods or fictional gods. He refers to them as other gods. So clearly this is not a very monotheistic text at all. But I bring this up because I brought this up time and time and again in the other videos. But it's not just that the text is telling you this. The people themselves, ancient Israelites, were a polytheistic society. If you don't believe that, Google it. And I know that, this story is part of the story of trying to make them follow one God. But that is against their basic nature. They are polytheistic. The God of the Old Testament, his name is not God. It's not the Lord. His name is Yahweh. And if you just Google Yahweh, you will find Yahweh and Yahwism and references to ancient Israelites. And they always refer to it as a polytheistic religion way back then, back in the day. I'm not saying that they are today, okay? But back then, absolutely a polytheistic religion. And you can see it here, how, they have this whole trial and they get out in the desert and they're trying to, they've escaped from Egypt, but they don't know where to go. And they think everything's going to be better. And then suddenly Moses pieces out for 40 days. And what is the first thing that they do? I mean, they basically revert back to polytheism. And I bring this up because I want to make it clear that it's easy for us in modern day to think, well, of course you are punished because you did not stay true to the one true God. But if you think about this in context, they were polytheistic the whole damn time. And to now think that this was some affront when I was a kid, I read this story and I thought, oh, it's so crazy. Like they got the 10 Commandments and God's looking out for them. And then right away, they go right back to like false gods and making golden calves and stuff. And I thought, how stupid. But that was really an ethnocentric point of view. They were not by nature a monotheistic society. And Yahweh was not part of a monotheistic tradition. If anything, this was a breaking from tradition. If we want to really read into this, that this is where monotheism in this culture comes from, because it did not start this way. It started polytheistic and evolved over time into a monotheistic tradition. And you can see that time and time again, especially in this story, because what happens? They go right back to their old ways, which is understandable. And, Moses comes down, the Lord's pissed off. Moses was pissed off. Those two are pissed off. But, if you just maybe told somebody, I'm going to be up here a minute, like not an hour, not a day, but I'm going to be up here for like 40 days. I mean, even if you didn't tell them an exact amount of time, the fact that you just went up on the mountain and you expect this whole group of 1 million some people just to patiently wait for you. I'm sorry, but it's stupid. It's nothing short of stupid. There's no other way to put it. I don't know where this comes from. And the Lord says to Moses, I have seen this people, how stiff-necked they are. He actually uses that exact term several times. Like, that always makes me laugh. Was that a common, insult? Was that a common insult of the day? Like, it feels like you're calling them rednecks or hillbillies or something like that, or just stubborn or stupid. I don't know, but he keeps saying stiff-necked. It's kind of hilarious. It's hilarious until he says, now let me alone. So Lord says to Moses, I have seen this people, how stiff-necked they are. Now let me alone so that my wrath may burn hot against them and I may consume them. And of you I will make a great nation. Let me read that again. Now let me alone so that my wrath may burn hot against them and I may consume them. And of you I will make a great nation. He's speaking to Moses there. So that sounds like God was very much deciding, screw this, kill them all, start over with Moses. We've seen before, we'll see again, where God's default plan is if things don't go according to plan, then we'll just kill everyone and start over. Kill them all and reset the board. In this case, he was going to kill, of course, he doesn't give a number, but when he says, let me alone so that my wrath may burn hot against them and I may consume them. And I'm not just pulling this out of my backside. This is a God who has already committed multiple genocides. When someone like that says this, that is a very strong indication that he's about to go on a murdering rampage. He gonna kill everyone, except for Moses, I guess. And start over with Moses. Like, you went through all this crap, the plagues and hardening Pharaoh's hearts and all the games you played and all this stupid, these hoops we had to jump through. And at the end of it, if people didn't perfectly align with your expectations, your answer was, let's kill them all and start over again with Moses. Yeah. Good dude. And this, then Moses implores the Lord. And this isn't the first time. This will happen. This has happened before and it's going to happen again. Basically, the Lord decides I'm going to jack these fools up. So what's Moses do? He pleads for them. He pleads, don't do this. And he says, I love this because it really does make sense. Why should the Egyptians say it was with evil intent that he brought them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? In other words, Moses is saying, if you kill everyone now, it's going to be a really bad look for you. And I guess you can say, well, that's good because God listened to Moses. God changed his mind. It literally says in the text, and the Lord changed his mind about the disaster that he had planned to bring on his people. And some people would read that, the apologists would read that and say, see, he's a loving God. Bullshit. He's a juvenile God who hasn't thought anything through, and he has to be talked out of this by Moses. I mean, Moses is wise and all, but to think that God has to have some sense talked into him about, yeah, don't go kill everyone. That's not a good idea. It's going to look bad. No one's going to want to follow you. And he doesn't realize this until Moses tells him. How sad is that? I mean, it's fine to have in a normal human and human relationship, it's fine to have people around you that you can trust, people that can set you straight and say, Adam, maybe you don't want to do that crazy rash thing. And that's fine if it's a story with two humans, but when one of those people is a freaking God, supposedly an almighty, omnipotent, omniscient, although we know this is not true, but this omnipotent God, and he has to be talked out of things like he's a teenager about to go on a rampage because he's about to kill everyone that he just brought out to the desert through all that long rigmarole. How embarrassing. And I mean, I really think it has to mean he was going to kill everyone other than Moses, and it says, and the Lord changed his mind about the disaster that he planned to bring on his people. I know we could say, well, but he got talked out of it. That doesn't make me feel any better about him at all. It makes me feel like he's gross. How embarrassing. Like, this is your God. I don't want a God that has to be talked out of his most genocidal plans because at the last minute, some council elder will come in and say, dude, do you really want to do that? Man. So it talks about Moses coming down with the tablets. The tablets were the work of God. And then Joshua says to Moses, there's a noise of war in the camp. But Moses said, it is not the sound made by victors or the sound made by losers. It is the sound of singing that I hear. I'm getting vibes of like the Grinch, waking up in the morning after he's stolen everything and then like, oh, he wants to hear all the misery, but no, they're singing. Yeah, well, like, oh, God is the Grinch. The much deadlier, more homicidal, genocidal version of the Grinch. If the Grinch had come down and had wiped out the whole village of Whoville, or the Who's in Whoville, that would have been much closer to God. Yeah. And it says, because of Moses coming down the mountain, as soon as he came near the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, Moses' anger burned hot. I think we're supposed to understand that the major crime committed here is the calf. But the way that's written, like, was it the dancing that was pissing him off? Was he so, like, is this footloose? Or is he so pissed off that people were dancing? How dare you dance while I'm on the mountain chilling with God? And this remedy, if you want to call it that, this is the most parochial, juvenile shit I'd say it's the most juvenile shit I've ever heard of, but wait till we get to Numbers. Oh my gosh, it's going to get much worse than this. But it says he took the calf that they had made, burned it with fire, ground it to powder, scattered it on the water, and made the Israelites drink it. What the hell is that? First of all, it's petty as hell. I mean, you took the calf, ground it to powder, and then made the Israelites drink it. This is the shit that an older brother does to you when he wants to torture you, you know? How? Yeah. Not cool. And this is just so juvenile and ridiculous. Like, you're going to grind the calf up and into powder and put it in the water and make everyone drink it. What the hell is wrong with you, man? Come on. And when he talks to Aaron, Aaron's like, well, what did this people do that you have to brought so great a sin on that? Or Moses said to them, and Aaron said, do not let the anger of my Lord burn hot. You know the people that they are wicked. First of all, Aaron is throwing these fools under the bus because Aaron was quick to be like, yeah, give me your gold and we'll make an idol. And now he's like, don't let the anger of my Lord burn hot. You know, the people, they're just real wicked. They can't be helped. Like, come on, man. You were at the front of the line. You were starting this whole thing. And now he's like passing the buck. Like, yeah, those are wicked people. What did you want me to do? And then at the end of it, he says, so I said to them, whoever has gold, take it off. So this is Aaron speaking. Whoever has gold, take it off. So they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf. That's an exclamation mark. They gave it to me. I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf. Like, they just took a bunch of fire or a bunch of gold and threw it in the fire, and then look, a calf came out. How did that happen? I don't know. He is so trying to pass the buck here. This is when Moses saw that the people were out of control. It uses this phrase, out of control. And then it says, for Aaron had lost control of them, prompting derision among their enemies. First of all, where were their enemies? I mean, I'm sure there were ancient spies walking around, but they're in the middle of the desert. They're not in the middle of someone else's territory right now. So this idea that them having this festival constituted them losing control and prompting derision amongst their enemies. This sounds like post-writing put in to try to prove some moralistic point. It's ridiculous. There's no country in the world that's looked at another country having a festival and said, yeah, those fools have lost control. We look at them with derision. No, come on, man. That's ridiculous. And this whole idea that they were out of control. They made a golden calf. They had a festival with dancing and singing. That's out of control. I mean, did they go insane? Were they destroying things? I mean, how exactly were they out of control? Were they murdering each other? Were they tearing down the tents and burning them? I mean, out of control sounds ridiculous. It sounds like you wanted to say that they were out of control to justify you grinding the calf into powder and making everyone drink it. Like some pissy Catholic school nun. And then, as if this wasn't ridiculous enough, then it goes from farcical to just being dark-ass Old Testament shit. And not dark as in the Lord will teach you a lesson. Dark why would anyone worship this shitbag? This is what happens. The sons of Levi, did as Moses tells them, the Levites. So the Levites are they're like this religious guard, essentially. Like they're kind of one of the tribes, but not really. And they become like this special religious guard of the Hebrews. They later become like the ones who specifically watch the temple. But at least at this point, they're kind of like religious warriors. And he tells the Levites, put your sword on your side, each of you. Go back and forth from gate to gate throughout the camp, and each of you kill your brother, your friend, and your neighbor. He tells the Levites, grab your swords, kill your brother, kill your friend, kill your neighbor. Because they made a golden freaking calf. The sons of Levi did as Moses commanded, and about 3,000 of the people fell on that day. Think about this. My freaking gosh. The Levites just grab swords and start going around hacking everyone down. Now, granted, there were supposedly hundreds of thousands of people here, but still, think about this. If you have a city of 1 million people that you live in, and some group of strong men goes through his swords and kills 3,000 people in a day, hacking them down in the streets, what kind of day would that be in the history of your city, your country, your people? That is disgusting. And anyone who wants to tell me that this is justified because someone made a statue out of gold is gross as well. If you think that this is in any way justified, you and I have nothing morally in common whatsoever. And I never, ever want to have anything in common with you at all. If this is what it takes to go to hell, to not go by and hack down 3,000 people because someone made a gold statue, then I will go to hell every day and twice on Sunday. Screw your angry bullshit God. And then that's not enough. It's not enough that Moses told them to go out and start slaughtering people, and they slaughtered 3,000 people in their camp. After that, the Lord sent a plague on the people because they made the calf, the one that Aaron had made. Couple notes here. One is, yeah, it's not enough we killed 3,000 of your people, but now I'm going to put a plague on you. I don't know how many people died of the plague. I don't know how widespread it was, but that's disgusting. And then also notice Aaron didn't get the plague. Aaron was all in on this. Aaron said, yeah, go bring your gold and we'll make a statue. Like Aaron was like, yeah, let's do this thing. But Aaron didn't get a plague. Aaron is fine. So I guess if you're going to disobey the Lord's commandments, you better make sure you're the one leading the disobedience, because that, at least then maybe you'll get off easily. So now to Exodus 33. The Lord said to Moses, go, leave this place, you and the people whom you have brought up out of the land of Egypt, and the ones that didn't get killed by the swords or the plague, and go to the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yeah, I know you've been swearing this forever. It was 400 years ago that you were swearing this. My gosh. Go there saying, to your descendants I will give it. I will send an angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, who are, as I like to just call them, the ites. Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go up among you, or I would consume you on the way, for you are a stiff-necked people. There we go again with the stiff-necked people. And I love how he's like, yeah, if I go up with you, I'm going to consume all of you. Because apparently he's too feral to actually control his own urges to commit mass murder. Good on you, God. When the people heard these harsh words, they mourned, and no one put out ornaments. For the Lord had said to Moses, say to the Israelites, you are a stiff-necked people. If for a single moment I should go up among you, I would consume you. Or you could not, and you could actually not be a juvenile prick. Crazy thought. So now take off your ornaments, and I will decide what to do to you. Is he going to do more than the 3,000 people that were slaughtered in the camp and then the plague that you threw on them as well? What a dick. Therefore, the Israelites stripped themselves of their ornaments from Mount Horeb onward, the tent outside the camp. Now Moses used to take the tent and pitch it outside the camp, far off from the camp. He called it the tent of meeting, and everyone who sought the Lord would go out to the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. I know you just told us that. Whenever Moses went out to the tent, which was outside the camp, all the people would rise and stand, each of them at the entrance of their tents, and watch Moses until he had gone into the tent. When Moses entered the tent, the pillar of cloud would descend and stand at the entrance of the tent, and the Lord would speak with Moses. When all the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance of the tent, all the people would rise and bow down, all of them at the entrance of their tent, except all the ones that were dead because they were slaughtered by the Levites and by the plague. Thus the Lord used to speak to Moses face to face, as one speaks to a friend. Then he would return to the camp, but his young assistant, Joshua son of Nun, would not leave the tent. Moses' intercession. Moses said to the Lord, see, you have said to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found favor in my sight. Now, if I have found favor in your sight, please show me your ways so that I may know you and find favor in your sight. Consider, too, that this nation is your people. He said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. And he said to him, if your presence will not go, do not bring us up from here. For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people, unless you go with us? In this way we shall be distinct, I and your people, from every people on the face of the earth. The Lord said to Moses, I will also do this thing that you have asked, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name. Quick note here. I'm going to read this again. The Lord said to Moses, I will also do this thing that you have asked, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name. Maybe that doesn't sound like much of a sentence. He knows Moses. He knows him by name. That also directly implies that there are plenty of other people of whom he does not know their name at all. For all of you people who want to believe that God knows every one of you, that you have a personal relationship with God, that he knows you by name, he knew you when you were in the womb, he knows you like this close personal friend. This is God telling Moses, well, I know you by name. He doesn't know a lot of the other ones by name. Now, if this is a regular dude, I'd be like, yeah, there's a lot of people in the camp. You can't know everyone by name, but this is God. God doesn't know a lot of them by name. He knows Moses, but not the others. You're a supposedly personal God who knew you in the womb and who listens to your prayers, but he doesn't know your name. Moses said, please show me your glory. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim before you the name the Lord. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. That's the dumbest sentence ever. I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. That applies to every person who has ever walked the earth. I will also be gracious to whom I will be gracious. And I will also show mercy on whom I will show mercy. So will you. And that applies to anyone. That's the dumbest sentence ever. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no one shall see me and live. But that makes no sense. It literally just said in the previous piece here that the Lord used to speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. And then 2 paragraphs down, it says that the God says to him, says, you cannot see my face, for no one shall see me and live. Liar. Something is wrong here, because 2 paragraphs earlier, you said that you hung out with Moses as a friend and you knew his name and you hung out with him face to face. The text literally says face to face. And then 2 paragraphs later, it says, you cannot see my face, for no one shall see me and live. You lying sack of shit. And the Lord continues, see, there is a place by me where you shall stand on the rock. And while my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I pass by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. The face that will kill everyone, unless, of course, you're lying because you just told us you hang out face to face with Moses. Oh, the God of lies. I love it. And then to Exodus 34. Moses makes new tablets. The Lord said to Moses, cut two tablets of stone like the former ones. Remember the ones that Moses smashed into bits. And I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablets, which you broke. It almost sounds kind of bitter. Be ready in the morning and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai and present yourself there to me on top of the mountain. You're going to be there for 40 days? Because if so, you might want to let people know. No one shall come up with you, and do not let anyone be seen throughout all the mountain, and do not let flocks or herds graze in front of that mountain. So Moses cut 2 tablets of stone like the former ones, and he rose early in the morning and went up on Mount Sinai as the Lord had commanded him, and took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. The Lord descended in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed the name the Lord. That sentence. First of all, when it says the name the Lord, this is another reference to the Tetragrammaton. So what it really, if you were to read this literally as it was originally written, it would say Yahweh descended in the cloud and stood with him and there proclaimed the name Yahweh. But I know he's God, but like the idea that I would show up to you and then proclaim my name. Like, what? Okay, dude. Sure. The Lord passed before him and proclaimed. This is the Lord proclaiming this. Okay. I know I just read this, but I want to. The Lord descended in the cloud and stood with him there and proclaimed his own name. Then the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord, the Lord. In other words, like I'm standing in front of you saying, Adam, Adam, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, which that is a damn lie. Slow to anger my ass. This dude, swift to anger and murders thousands or tens of thousands or millions whenever he damn well pleases. That is a bald-faced lie while you're proclaiming your own glory and lying about being slow to anger. The Lord, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, bullshit, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness, unless you make a golden cow, keeping steadfast love for the 1,000th generation, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. No, you don't. You said in the 10 Commandments that you will punish to the 3rd and 4th generation the sins of the father. And it's about to say it right here. Yet by no means clearing the guilty, but visiting the iniquity of the parents upon the children and the children's children to the 3rd and 4th generation. What an ass. The fact that they would have this stanza here where it starts by saying, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. And then they would end it by saying, but visiting the iniquity of the parents upon the children and the children's children to the 3rd and 4th generation. That's a disgusting God. And Moses quickly bowed, and this is as he's talking about himself. He's exalting himself. And Moses quickly bowed down to the ground and worshipped. He said, if now I have found favor in your sight, my Lord, I pray, let my Lord go with us. Although this is a stiff-necked people. There we go again. Pardon our iniquity and our sin and take us for your inheritance. Yeah, your inheritance because we're your slaves. The covenant renewed. He said, I hereby make a covenant. Before all your people I will perform marvels, such as have not been done in all the earth or in any nation. Yeah, like the staff with the snake that all the Egyptian magicians could do. And all the people among whom you live shall see the work of the Lord, for it is an awesome thing that I will do with you. Observe what I command you today. See, I will drive out before you the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Take care not to make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land to which you are going, or it will become a snare among you. Rather, you shall tear down their altars, break their pillars, and cut down their sacred poles. For you shall worship no other God, because the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. God is speaking, and he tells you, my name is jealous. That just says so much to me. Even amongst regular people, okay, just take the God aspect out of it. I really hate, like, sometimes you'll hear someone say, oh, you know, like, I'm a really jealous person. And they'll say it almost like they're proud of it. Like it's a character trait that they want to foster. And I always think to myself, you should fix that. You know, like, I mean, it's great if you're honest about your shortcomings, but jealousy is a shortcoming. Jealousy is not something to be bragged about. I don't care if it's your spouse. I don't care if it's your job. I mean, there is never a point when you should bow up, stick your chest out, and be proud of the fact that you're jealous. And to say your name is jealous and you're a jealous God. I mean, he's telling it to you right there. He's disgusting. It just sounds so silly. Whose name is jealous is a jealous God. You know, my name is hungry. I'm a hungry dude. Like, what? Like, come on. I've never heard him call himself jealous before. I mean, it's jealous with a capital J. So it's meant as a name, a title. It's not just, he's not just saying, oh, I'm kind of jealous. He's saying whose name is jealous is a jealous God. You shall not make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, for when they prostitute themselves to their gods and sacrifice to their gods, someone among them will invite you, and you will eat of the sacrifice. And you will take wives from among their daughters for your sons, and their daughters who prostitute themselves to their gods will make your sons also prostitute themselves to their gods. This is God's legacy of ethnic purity. He is telling them, I'm going to send you to these countries where you're going to slaughter people and take the land, which was never yours to begin with, other than God promising it hundreds of years ago, but it's never been your land. I'm going to send you there. You're going to slaughter scores of people. And then the ones who are left over, don't mix with them. Yes, that's what he's talking about. Don't mix the races. Don't mix the ethnicities. Don't dare mingle with their society. And I understand the logic behind it, because the idea is they're not godly, or at least godly by this definition. They have their own gods, but they're not holy by this definition. So, but it still sounds so gross to me to think that you're going to tell these people to go invade this country, these countries, slaughter scores of people, take everything around you, and then you can't even deign to have relations with these people because they're not pure. Yeah, you want to know, racism doesn't come from Judaism or from Christianity or from Islam. But I'll tell you what, these religions sure as hell don't help. I mean, being Christian doesn't make you a racist, obviously. But man, these ideals don't help at all. These ideals serve to buttress anyone who wants to find an excuse for their racist crap. This is coming straight from your Old Testament, straight from your Bible. He says, you shall not make cast idols. Yes, we've covered this. You shall keep the festival unleavened bread. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you at the time appointed in the month of Abib. For in the month of Abib you came out from Egypt. Yes, we've covered this. All that first opens the womb is mine. All your male livestock, the firstborn of cow and sheep, the firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with the lamb, or if you will not redeem it, you shall break its neck. All the firstborn of your sons you shall redeem. Now, I do want to point out, I want to be fair. When we saw the Ten Commandments, well, shortly after the Ten Commandments, there was a pretty explicit commandment there to sacrifice your firstborn sons. Now, I said, when I read that, I said, well, if we went back several chapters before, it says the same thing, but it says you can redeem your firstborn sons. And then strangely after that, they reference it again without the redemption thing, strongly implying that you just have to sacrifice your sons. And then once again, now we come back to the redemptions thing. So I'm not going to sit here and try to gin up some story that says, oh, Christianity wants you to, or Judaism wants you to sacrifice your sons. But it's just weird that we get these mixed messages. No one shall appear before me empty-handed, because bitch better have my money. Yeah. If God is nothing else if not greedy. 6 days you shall work, but on the seventh day you shall rest. Even in plowing time and in harvest time you shall rest. You shall observe the festival of weeks, the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the festival of ingathering at the turn of the year. 3 times in the year all your males shall appear before the Lord God, the God of Israel. Yes, we've covered this. For I will cast out nations before you and enlarge your borders. No one shall covet your land when you go up to appear before the Lord your God 3 times in a year. This is interesting to me, and it strikes me as another one of these things. Like in the last video, I talked about how he says there will be no miscarriages in your land, which I know is demonstrably false. And it's just weird to me that he would ever promise something that we know has never come to pass. I mean, a lot of times he promises these things that you can always read through a certain lens and say, oh, look, the Lord did what he said, because it's always nebulous. But that one promise is like, that's a bullshit promise. That's never been true. There's always been some women there who have been had miscarriages or been barren. And then once again, we get another promise like this, where it says, no one shall covet your land when you go up to appear before the Lord. It's talking about the festivals. No one shall covet your land when you go up to appear before the Lord your God 3 times in a year. It's basically promising them that when you go to these festivals 3 times a year, no one will try to attack you or covet your land. That's bullshit. Any enemy who actually wants to, do damage will consider those to be prime times. Come on. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven, because God forbid we have some yeast. And the sacrifice of the festival of the Passover shall not be left until the morning. I'll never understand the yeast thing. The best of the first fruits of your ground you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. We just did this the last video. I mean, this is the third time now. I don't know what it is about this boiling kids in mother's milk, but apparently God doesn't like it. The Lord said to Moses, write these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. Well, yeah, you've renewed it, like you've repeated everything again. He was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. Is this again? See, the way they do this storytelling, I'm not sure, because we talked before about him being up there for 40 days and 40 nights. And now it says again 40 days. And like, is this another stint of 40 days and 40 nights? I mean, I'm sure a biblical scholar could tell you, no, that's the same story repeated. But it's really weird. It's not clear at all. And if I read it verbatim, it sounds to me like he spent another 40 days and 40 nights chilling with God, but I don't know. It says, well, during his 40 days and 40 nights, he neither ate bread nor drank water, and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. It's like, does that mean that Moses wrote them or God? I don't know. It's weird. And then finally, Exodus 34, we have the shining face of Moses. This is kind of a weird story. Interesting way to end this. Moses came down from Mount Sinai. As he came down from the mountain with the 2 tablets of the covenant in his hand, Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone, because he had been talking with God. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, the skin of his face was shining, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the leaders of the congregation returned to him, and Moses spoke with them. Afterward, all the Israelites came near, and he gave them in commandment all that the Lord had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. When Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he would take the veil off until he came out. And when he came out and told the Israelites what he had been commanded, the Israelites would see the face of Moses, that the skin of his face was shining, and Moses would put the veil on his face again until he went in to speak with him. Somebody has to have made like a Moses light of God face cream or something. Like, this sounds like the most amazing face cream in the history of man. You go in and you talk to God for a few hours, and you come out and you're all glowing and shiny. You got to put a veil on because you're just so shiny. I know this has been done, because in the history of man, we've tried everything, but somebody has to have come out with a whole line of face creams, this special light of God face cream, you put it on and it's probably like super shiny, like oily crap or something, but it's just a weird story. This whole idea that when he talked to God, Moses would come back and his face would be glowing and he had to put a veil on over it. It's kind of strange. So that brings us to Exodus 35. I know we're getting long. We're going to finish this, but not because we're going to read this. Here's what's going to happen. If you watched a couple of videos ago, you know that, the previous video, I should say. The previous video, we ended by skipping through like 6 chapters, all right? And the reason that we skipped through the six chapters wasn't because I was trying to cheat on the reading, but because those 6 chapters here in Exodus were this ridiculous string of insanely detailed instructions that just went through every stupid detail about how to do his tabernacle and the vestments and the lamps and the oil in the lamps and the Ark of the Covenant. It was really self-absorbed. It's incredibly boring, and it doesn't tell you anything other than the fact that God just cares about God. That's really what it came down to. And then we have this story about the golden calf and, killing people in plagues and all this stuff. And then finally we get to Exodus 35. It goes through preparations for making the tabernacle. And then, once again, for chapter after chapter, we get to get in excruciating detail how everything in the tabernacle was made. And you might think, like, from a historical, quasi-historical perspective, whatever, you might think, well, that's interesting, but no, it really isn't. You know why I say it's not interesting? Because it repeats almost word for word all of the exact instructions that were given to us in those 6 chapters earlier in Exodus. So earlier in Exodus, we had this ridiculous long set of instructions about you have to do this and this and this, and you have to use acacia wood, and you have to like have rings of this size, and you have to use gold and all this other stuff. And then he spends another 6 chapters telling us in excruciating detail how they did exactly what he told them to do. I mean, literally using almost the exact same verbiage. You know, the first part was 6 chapters about build it this way, and use this kind of cloth, and use this kind of gold. And then literally at this point, we almost repeat those 6 chapters verbatim, saying, okay, this is how they built it. They built it this way, using this fabric and this kind of gold and this kind of wood. And it's like, yeah, we know you gave us all the instructions. And now you're going to make us read. I mean, if you really wanted to be fastidious about reading every single word, you're going to make us read the exact same thing you told us only a handful of chapters earlier. It is so self-indulgent, really. I know, you know, if this is your religion, you're like, well, of course it's self-indulgent. It's God. It's my God. He should be self-indulgent. But it just, oh man, it comes across as so banal, so pointless when you have these people that are in the desert and, you know, when you're not dropping, you know, bland bits of manna on them, you're afflicting them with plague because they had the nerve to make a golden calf and dance and sing. And you're sending the Levites through to slaughter 3,000 of them in the camps. But then when you're not doing those things, let's talk about all the plans and accoutrement for my glorious tabernacle. You self-indulgent ass. But that actually brings us all the way through Exodus. Again, I'm not reading every stupid and, you know, nitnoid detail about how they built the tabernacle. We already read all the instructions of how to build it, and then you just tell us that they did it exactly as you said they should do it. But that brings us to the end of Exodus. So now we are through 2 books of the Bible, 2 of the first 5, which are collectively called the Pentateuch. The first 5, when the Old Testament was first created, these first 5 books were the first 5 that were published. So we have gone through Genesis, we've gone through Exodus. For my fans that have been through all these videos, and you know what your name is. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you being here. You know, thanks for coming along on the ride. I hope this has been somewhat enlightening. I just keep finding new things here, and none of them are flattering. So thank you for coming along for the ride. I really appreciate you watching, especially if you've watched all the way through this video. I appreciate you putting up with my bullshit. And I hope that I have at least done enough to keep your attention to stick with us when we start in on Leviticus. Ooh, goody. The joy, the happiness, the peace and love that is Leviticus. Thank you for joining me here on God-Free Bible Study. I hope to see you all again, unless you found something better to do with your life, which I would understand. But please hang with us, and we will continue trudging through the effery that is the Jewish and Christian Bible. Appreciate you being with us. Have a good night.